Carol.
Another day, another fight.
Ignore the devil. We must take the transponder.
Take this ship, and Baldur will have your head.
If this ship hits the ground, we're dead.
Or your spine will rise.
Liner cone. It's still too big. Okay.
Taste my fury.
Let these intruders Avernus is ours!
Come a little closer. Gods take you first.
can't slow down.
Take this ship, or Zarya will have your head!
Oh, under pressure. Can't afford to let up.
You're picking up a right, friend. May the gods take you first.
What about a baby, you fucking monster?
I will not know failure. Talk to me.
Worship me. As the prophet of the end.
One day I'll catch a break.
Forward, Istik, before more dragons come. My faith will protect me.
Wonder if the gods are watching me.
Make way.
What's in here? Time to push my luck again.
Funny or you die.
Open up.
I am fury. I am death. Ready.
The helm's alien transponder. You made it in time. You half expect the as you the tadpole other than the infection, you're more, but it'll all be the tadpole lizard.
Still breathing, despite everything.
You drink in the pungent corpse. Since you awoke on the ship, your mind has been cold and empty, but something stirs. With your hands close to this body, you know nothing of why, but you find a half smile flittering across your face. As soon as you delve into your mind, it's filled with flashes of a thousand different dead. There is something.
You're alive. First things, we might have escaped, but we need each other. And we... One thing. Just... It would lead the way.
stay back. One strike could be lethal.
Breathe deep and move.
I won't give in. Wonder if the gods are watching me.
Need to act fast. Got to press on.
Have to keep going.
Never a dull moment. Time for some bloody work.
Let's finish this. Something the matter?
Mutatis mutandis. Pietas expientia.
Was their concentration?
All is ash and meat.
I to do?
Let's move. All right, time to skulk about. More of those wretched things. Fresh water. There must be a settlement somewhere nearby.
There is work to do.
How many die today? How many die tomorrow? What's going on with that room? Looks on.
Approach the sigil on the stone. Magic glint.
A hand? Anyone?
Those gauntlets don't work. They're broken. They're broken as fuck. They should be +3 in this situation because I basically I need to go re-roll.
That's it! A bit shocked, but I know you. Then I can only assume the insert.
Well, I don't
You don't
need
have
to
to be a cleric
necessarily.
by any chance. I suppose we're most certainly going to need a. Oh, it was an act of.
All is ash and meat.
Dead goblins over there. Worth checking for supplies, maybe.
There. A mind flayer. And it's hurt.
Approach with extreme caution. An injured mind flayer is still a dangerous one.
All right. What now? No time for mercy. Monster. Death is too good for it.
Still in control. Just.
Have a lot on my mind. And, well, in it.
Come here. I need help. Hurry. There. In the grass. You can kill it, can't you? There. Shh. And you.
I need him alive.
Now, I saw you on the ship, didn't I? Not?
Your mind, you tried.
What was that? The word. And to think. My name's Astarion. I was in Baldur's Gate when those beat my mind. So, did turn it. Although, well, yes, of course, you know. And any. All right.
As he joins your side.
Watch your back.
Let's get going.
Away! Away! You're all the same, but not me!
Ooh, what is that? A bear? Yeah, well, get fucked, bear.
Ready and willing. With bated breath.
My faith protects me.
I was trying to concentrate.
Sometimes the only way out is through.
Stalin,
Trust me
Mao,
to keep
and
going.
Pol Pot killed 100 million people under their evil powers, leftist regimes, trying to make a so-called utopia where everything is free and equal. But that's not how it turned out. No, there was no freedom.
Deep grooves in the mud around that rock.
All the artwork and everything written or said about the regime had to be complimentary. Well, it was propaganda, I tell you. You couldn't be armed, so you couldn't fight back. And you couldn't oppose or disagree with them, or you'd be shipped off to the gulag to face torture and death. You dare not criticize your leader. No, that wasn't allowed. The only way you could speak about those dictators was with praise. I tell you, it was a nightmare. Imagine if your own mother was shipped off to some gulag, and then you weren't even allowed to complain about it. And not only that,
With a flick
but you
of
had
the
to be
wrist.
thankful. How many more lives must communism take?
Welcome to heaven, Joe.
Oh, God!
That's right, I know. Listen, Jeffrey, go ahead and put him through orientation.
Oh, God, please don't make me do that. I hate orientation.
Jeffrey.
Okay. Right this way, Joe. Just follow this street of gold here to your new mansion.
My mansion?
Yep. Everyone gets a mansion in heaven because everything is totally free and equal here. Don't get too used to your mansion, though. You won't be spending much time there.
Mama, you here?
God, I can't do this. Could you help me out with this part, please?
Jeffrey, you wuss.
I've been so looking forward to finally seeing Mama again.
Oh? Well, I think that could be a break. We just had these new LG widescreens installed. Oh, whenever you want to see your mother, just turn to channel 6.
Somebody die tomorrow.
Mama? Is that you?
Sorry at a bad time, Joe. Maybe you'll recognize her when her skin grows.
But my magic.
Turns off again.
Everything is clear.
Not exactly. She secretly did not believe, actually, that I created the universe. So
Once familiar
I
ally.
shipped her off to hell to be tortured forever.
Mama?
Joe, remember that you're in heaven now, and heaven is a happy place.
A better position.
So I'm gonna need you to turn that frown upside down.
But Mama...
Joe, I'm sensing that you have some choice words for me, sort of at the tip of your tongue, and I'd like to remind you that blasphemy is
Never a dull
still
moment.
a big no.
Light on my feet.
Oh, no.
No criticizing, no back talk, and certainly no insulting your creator.
Where's the rest of my family?
I'm afraid that since you were a bit overbearing about your religion, they were kind of afraid to tell you that they weren't actually believers.
Well, that's not entirely accurate, Jeffrey. Some were believers and got the denomination wrong.
Well, at least they're not alone, Joe. There's 100 million people in hell. Not nearly that many up here.
Hey, if you want to make an omelet, you gotta break some eggs. The wants of the few outweigh the needs of the many, right?
What about little Jack? And Grandma Sue? And Aunt Betsy?
Oh, there they are.
Where's Uncle Mike? That's
Nothing will stand in my way.
Hiya, Joe. So good.
make her a penny right before they die, so you two get to spend eternity together.
Speaking of which, be sure to be up bright and early for worship.
Worship?
Yep, that's what you're going to be doing from now on. You did enjoy church, right?
You're ridiculous. You're gonna overwhelm me with all these good news. Worship? Well, obviously you're gonna want to thank me, right? No, you get to do that forever and ever. Not only did I send all
waste a
those
step.
people who believed
Got to
the wrong
concentrate.
things about me, or who
On I go.
criticized me, off to be tortured, but I saved your old Uncle Mike here.
And Mike sure does know how to be a lava that's not to pay God compliments.
Yep. After all, that's why I created you primitive primates in the first place. So that you could have the honor of feeling and paying me compliments forever. I mean, what else would the most intelligent mind in existence
Father,
want
are you
besides
watching?
groveling?
Doesn't that sound so much more beautiful than those wicked nihilistic atheists who wanted you to live your life to the fullest because they believed it was the only life you could have?
Exactly, Jeffrey. But now, you spend eternity kissing my ass.
So meaningful.
Part of this video was inspired by Seth Andrews and Matthew Hunting. Links in the description below. It is important to listen to the reasons people have for deconverting, and one of the reasons Seth gives is the compatibility of heaven and hell. If heaven exists, how could hell exist? How could someone be happy in heaven knowing that someone they really love
On the way.
is being tortured in hell? If in heaven your mind is changed so drastically that it would no longer bother you,
Step by step.
are no longer you. The rest of the video was inspired by my own reaction to the Tiresome Association.
Perhaps our survival isn't such a distant prospect.
Enough sitting around. Let's go hurt someone.
Adamantly disagree with what those dictators did. And even though the people who associate with those dictators are themselves exuberant supporters of a dictator who must restricts freedom and tortures dissidents, I can reject the very basis of dictatorships. But
It's
the
been a long
fundamental
day.
Abrahamic
Better
theists
stop to
cannot.
rest soon.
Because for them, such an existence is the ultimate goal.
Man, those leaves are crunchy. Over the course of the past 2 months, I have broken down every single episode of Ancient Apocalypse, and through my own research, I've been able to prove that most of what Graham Hancock says is false. But I've noticed something, and that is that every piece of information that disproves his claim is easily available to any one of us that just does a little bit of research. And because of that, I've had a realization, or an epiphany, if you will. I started my career discussing pseudo-archaeology and pseudoscience and trying to dispel fiction with objective and well-researched fact. But I realized in filming this series that it's more than a debate between two opposing viewpoints. It's about Graham Hancock, because like it or not, Graham Hancock is a personality. He's like the dark Bill Nye. He's got books, and Netflix deal, and
You'll
charisma.
die a
That
bloody
appeals to people.
pauper
It
unless you
appeals to the
take
kind
a
of
few
people who want to
risks.
feel validated
Why don't we
that
just
they were
wait a
right all
while?
along in the world
Make sure
really
it's
has
safe.
been lying to them. And those are the kind of people who cannot be swayed with anything that I bring to the table. When I started this series, I was greatly looking forward to hearing the viewpoints of those who agreed with Graham Hancock, because I didn't really
Either
care as
we
much about
act
Graham
now,
Hancock as I
or
did
someone
about
else
the
will
theories
pick
he was
that
putting
wreck
forward.
clean
Most of the
and
supporters
leave
who
us
ended up watching
nothing.
my video just ended up seeing it as
Haven't seen
personal.
anyone but us.
Jealous he has a Netflix
It's
deal
just wilderness
and
out here.
brainwashed by mainstream academia. And my personal favorite, you were the one he warned us about. And this is what I mean when I say, to what end? Because I can sit here and I can prove time and time again that the things Graham Hancock is saying are incorrect with papers and facts and sources, but none of that matters if the way that Graham Hancock speaks makes you feel vindicated. This is actually the second introduction that I filmed for this video. In my last one, I addressed one of the most common comments that I got on my video, saying that I should debate Graham Hancock. I've seen comments of people saying that Graham Hancock says no archaeologist wants to debate him, but here's 4 episodes of want to set the record straight. I emailed Graham Hancock at the beginning of the series hoping to get an interview with him, and I never heard back. But Graham, I know you have my email, so the ball's in your court. Whether or not we do it on Joe Rogan, like it's really up to you. But I realized something in all the debate requests. People don't want to see me and Graham Hancock debate to try and sway their minds. They want to debate because they picked their champion. People who agree with me want me to debate Graham Hancock, not because they think I'm going to change his mind, but because they want to see me do this to his face. And people who agree with Graham Hancock want him to debate with me, not because my mind, but because they want to see him and I go toe-to-toe together. What people want to see is a dogfight. I grew up watching enough reaction content on YouTube to know that I'm slowly becoming the person that I watched growing up, and I don't really like it. When I started this series, I did it because I wanted to analyze the things Graham Hancock has to say, but I can't help but feel like, in a way, I'm just doing well-researched, sensationalized reaction content. And you know what? To an extent, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because it's fun and the internet eats it up. There's a guilty pleasure. There's nothing wrong with that. But how can sensationalized reaction content, no matter how well-researched, make it different? In round week, I'm going to be going to Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe myself to film some videos about these fascinating ancient archaeological sites. That is down on me. I'm gonna say it. I'm a fucking great teacher. I'm an awesome teacher. I love it. I'm passionate about it. I've been studying this stuff since I'm this big. I just finished earning my degree in it, and I want to continue to teach and, more importantly, learn for the rest of my life because it's what I'm passionate about. I'm giving an emboldened speech. Can you fly a helicopter somewhere else? I'm not going to be able to change any minds by doing my dogfight with Graham Hancock, or by doing this series where I admittedly feel like I need to take a cold shower because I've just been sifting through the grease drippings left over from Hancock's creation. The way that I can actually make a difference is by going out into the world and doing what I do best, teach. Throughout this series, I talked about how amazing it would be to have a science communicator who is as flashy and appealing as Hancock, but tell things that are actually true. It's not worth sitting around and waiting for some knight in shining armor to show up and save science. I'll just do it myself. There will always be people like that pulls people in order to grow its new heads, and the only way to defeat it is at its source, by making sure that people are educated enough so that they don't fall for it. It's of course no fault of the individual, but rather the fault of a system that doesn't prioritize education, instead championing the true way to combat conspiracy is by making education accessible. Maybe I'm burying my soul a little bit too much at the beginning of this video, and maybe I shouldn't be, but I find myself at a really interesting point. I'm 23 years old, I just finished my degree, and I can really just turn this into whatever I want to.
I wonder if this is worth the cost. Hope your soul is in good hands.
Destroying giant skeletons, or that the Richthofen structure is the ruins of Atlantis. I want to go out there and actually teach people this stuff. I want to do more with what I've built, because I've built something that I am so goddamn proud of. A community of people who actually want to learn. I've been able to
Tale for the ages.
people who are interested in learning about
I won't give in.
environmental science and geology.
Here we go again.
Tell me that I've inspired them to go back to school or what educational major they want to pursue, and I cannot tell you how humbling it is to think that I could have inspired someone who will someday go on to discover something that changes the world. I want to take this and run with it. I want the world to be my blackboard. Yes, Graham Hancock has written books, and he has a Netflix documentary.
Let's turn someone inside out.
Left in me, and this is just the beginning. I guess if I were to tie a bow on this, there'd be a quote from probably the most famous archaeologist in the world from his worst movie. If you want to be a good archaeologist, understand where I'm coming from and know that I will still always cover conspiracy theories and pseudo-archaeology. Hell, I love talking about it. Awful Archaeology will be back as soon as I actually have a studio to film it in. But for now, I want to turn this into something bigger. And now, we center ourselves.
Wretched thing. Pull yourself together.
And come back to it later. Because I know why we're all here. So why don't we come together once again as a big happy family and do what we all came here for. Because we are going to dunk on Graham Hancock one more time. We are going to dig 2 episode-sized holes, and we are going to put the rest of this series in it and cover it up. And then we're going to do a little dance on top of it while I tell you my thoughts of the entire series as a whole. And afterwards, we're going to put the shovel in the ground, dust off the dirt, hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and get ready to go make a difference. Howdy, friends. My name is Milo Rossi, and welcome to the final episode of Analyzing Ancient Apocalypse. And that is how you fucking do it, baby!
What do you give a book? Everything all right out there?
Classes in session. Howdy, friends. My name is Milo, and welcome back to Ancient Apocalypse. Today we're going to be analyzing Ancient Apocalypse, the series where I go through every single one of the episodes of Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse series on Netflix to deduce whether or not there truly was a lost civilization at the end of the last ice age. If you have not seen the previous episodes, you can pause here, but if you have, we are going to just keep right on rolling with episode 6. Wait, no, we're going to keep right on rolling with Ancient Apocalypse, episode 7, is surprisingly the one where Graham Hancock grasps at straws the most. The thesis of this episode is that Graham Hancock claims to have found ancient underground survival
No more prayers. Only dust and silence.
Who are those prayers for? Normally the patron god is obvious. Not here.
Always room for more.
This tough rock. Now, Graham Hancock claims that these tunnels were built by an as-yet unidentified civilization who were motivated by fear. Write it down. No, Graham Hancock, I'll give him credit because he stays really consistent for the rest of his series at the start of this episode. As he has done in every single episode so far, he makes a broad assumption right off the bat to set the stage for what you are supposed to think about the site. There is, and I cannot stress this enough, no way that Graham Hancock can tell you without reasonable doubt that the people who built this place were motivated by fear. And when he does this at the beginning of the episode, he does it in such a sort of nonchalant way that you almost just accept it, and he goes on to make everything in the rest of the episode make sense. Because if you don't think like this, well, then the whole theory falls apart. And hell, as we're about to see, even if you do think like this, the whole theory still falls apart. So what is the thing that makes it tough so important? I'm sure some of you are familiar with the Mohs hardness scale. It is the way that we deduce the hardness of a rock, with diamond being 10 and something really soft like talc or chalk being a 1. Now, tough on that scale is a 3, meaning that it's about the same hardness as your fingernail. And the fingernail has a little bit of bite to it, but I mean, if you had a rock made only out of solid fingernail, you'd probably be able to carve through it pretty easily. Man, that is a disturbing thought. The site which Graham Hancock talks about in this episode is called Kuyu. Now, let's have a look at the area that Kuyu is in. Neat. You'll notice that Kuyu is an area that is more or less devoid of trees, surrounded by some flat-top mesas, but more or less an open expanse of land. Now, if you were a group of ancient people living in this area, and you learned that the stone beneath your feet is so soft that you can dig through
I should speak up.
that seems like a pretty good place to build a dwelling. Build a dwelling they did, because there are decent terrain average in multiple places in this region. They are
That might be worth a look.
Air ducts. Now, the original hypothesis for who dug these tunnels is that it was dug in the 7th century by Christians. However, more recent evidence has suggested that it was actually dug around 800 BCE. Of course, Graham Hancock does not like this theory, and so he says, don't trust the notice boards, do the legwork yourself. And so, Graham Hancock, I have spent the last God knows how many minutes doing the legwork myself, and I have a splitting migraine because of it. I wouldn't have to do so much legwork if you got a single thing right. Now, the reason why Kuyu is so
Couple turns should do it.
like set people on fire and whatnot. You know, I would be motivated by
and scribes, but no sign of a struggle. That's Jurgle, scribe of the dead. I didn't think anyone still worshipped him. That's curious. Hells, something just woke up down here.
Let them come. The darkness can be to our advantage.
I think peace and quiet being pretty high up on that list. I also I like to be able to walk into my room.
Torment!
I think that privacy entails, walking into your room and being like, all right, ready for
Nothing will stand in my way. Try me.
That seems like a lot more work than it's worth if you just want a couple minutes of peace and quiet. And now, as for the exterior fire doors, for itself. Graham, it's a cave. Of course it's not going to catch on fire. So Graham Hancock, standing in the caves of Darren Kuyu, was talking to one of the archaeologists who works there, and he asked him on the oldest and
Time to kill.
is not being talked about. And the speaker sort of responds with, there's many theories, Graham. Very well. My heart goes out to this man. But the thing we have to remember is that the speaker, which Graham Hancock is speaking to, is someone who works at this site. This person has objectively the best grasp on the history of Darren Kuyu over pretty much anyone else on planet Earth. And so I would be more willing to believe his interpretation of all of the facts than Graham Hancock trying to say that this was a survival shelter to protect people 12,000 years ago from a meteor that fell from the sky. So, you want my theory? I think it was a little bit of a combination of both as well as a living structure. And there's a couple reasons for that. Firstly, in the structure, there are, I guess, functional spaces. So things like distilleries, there's stables, there's storage, all kinds of stuff associated with it. This implies that, we're going to go lock ourselves underground and make as much wine as we want, as much fun as that sounds. We all need. We essentially have a limitless space to build as many rooms as we want, as long as we're just free forever. And so we can pretty much retrofit this cave system to become not only a living space, but also a workspace. To give my theory a little bit more credence, if you look at the area around it, as I pointed out earlier, it's a fairly inhospitable place. It would be a lot more challenging to build a permanent structure out in these plains with really no building materials than it would be to just find a rock.
Torment!
Come on. Can't stay idle.
This would omit the need for fireplaces and heating systems and all of the
I think you can take me on.
probably be better to live in a place where you don't have to make fires.
Close at hand.
Related to the trees, if you are underground, there is no material upkeep. All you have to do is dig a room once, and the room is there forever. You can kind of use it for whatever you want. Of course, last but not least, as you want. As long as there is tough on one side of the room, you can just keep digging forever. So anyway, that's my interpretation from the official interpretation, sort of just my own spitballing. But Graham has some very interesting things to say about this place. Wall striations, or the wall, look like they were made with a hand axe. Now, hand axes are something that we see in great antiquity. They are some of the oldest and more tools, if you want to put it like that. And so because these stone tools are associated with great antiquity in the archaeological record, Graham Hancock is claiming that that is the tool that was used to carve this. Why it fits into his timeline, meaning that these caves are, of course, not the widely accepted 2,000 years old, but are actually 12,000 years old, just like everything else in this show. Now, he does have some physical evidence to back this up. The discovery of hand axes. Now, you might be thinking, oh, hand axes, within the caverns, hand axes invented in the walls or in some sort of workroom. No, they are... I don't really know how clear I can make this.
No choice but to keep going.
Literally nothing. Just because two things were found in the same area as one another does not mean that they're related. I know that he's not saying that those particular hand axes were used to carve out this site, but he claims that those hand axes were dated to about 9,500 years ago. And the fact that those hand axes are somehow related to the hand axes used to carve out this place, and that therefore those things are connected to one another, is just...
These things have stayed interesting.
Lived in this part of the world for 200,000 years. If you're telling me that these hand axes
Must lug my guts through this hell.
You're full of it.
A wizard's quite worthless.
A lot of effort to hide one sarcophagus.
Seconds. I would follow.
Then why can't this one be 12,500 years old as well? Which honestly, Graham, I really can't argue with that. That is a phenomenal point. Well, if that can be that old, how come that can't be that old? When you take away all the flashy graphics and the mysticism and the mystery that Graham Hancock sort of...
Strange coin. I wonder what it's worth.
Theories are predicated on him just sort of saying something. I know I said this earlier in this series, but it really is amazing what you can do if you're just good at talking. Anyway, moving along. The Nevershire tunnels are located about 17 miles away from Kuyu, and they are another complex tunnel system also carved out of the top stone. Now, what is Graham Hancock at this site for? Is he also claiming that this is another place where people went to
These things have stayed interesting. Forbidden knowledge, without a doubt. Can't keep me out.
This book is far lighter than it should be with such a massive lock. As the locker, what was once script, is now an obliterated scrawl. You have a sense these are gods, the last three names, entire pan.
He claims that all of these sites are, part of some master plan, where every single one of them is motivated by fear to hide from the meteor to go underground. But if you look at the meteor theory, you can see another very obvious association, which is that there were multiple groups of people who lived in the area with this very soft stone, and it was the cultural thing to dig your homes into the stone. It's amazing how Graham Hancock can take a cultural flair that an ancient group of people had that's really
I applaud your taste.
in this mystical bullshit and completely crush all of the interestingness out of it. I would love to hear more about these sites. I am an archaeologist, and this is the first time I heard about Kuyu, and I want to know more. I want to see this site for what it actually was. I want to understand, what the archaeologists are saying about it. I don't want to see this site as some part of a master plan and, whatever the conspiracy theory is. And so it's a shame that for many people, the very first time they hear about Kuyu, it is going to be associated with Graham Hancock's conspiracy. There's a story to be told here. There's a story of real people who worked to dig a place like
Yes. I'm getting a distinct whiff of crypt. Undisturbed, too. Till now.
And it's just so frustrating that so many people probably watch this show because they love archaeology and they wanted to learn the truth. Thank God this episode's almost over. He starts talking about Zoroastrianism, one of the oldest, the longest practiced religions in the world, and he's like they have stories of a big winter that happened.
Still alive. So that's progress.
Underground, places. Now, Graham, I don't know if I really need to tell you this, but that religion arose in a part of the world where it was culturally significant to live underground, not because there was a meteor coming, but because that was the thing you did, because it was just the most logical place to make your dwelling. And you remember that thing I said earlier about living underground giving you a wonderful amount of thermal insulation? It kind of makes sense that there is, a ancient story in this area where there are homes underground about them hiding there to not freeze to death, especially when the area above ground gets really cold and doesn't have any shelter on it. I cannot believe that Graham Hancock can put all of these things together and think that it is evidence of a meteor coming from space and people trying to dig a fallout shelter underground, especially when he claims that the meteor landed in North America. Okay, let's get the last quote of this stupid episode. No, I'm not even bothering writing this down. That's like 30 seconds of my life I'll never get back. Here's the quote. The stunning implication is that an advanced civilization whose influence spanned the globe coexisted with hunter-gatherers at the end of the last ice age. I know I've done this gag many times.
In some historically contingent circumstances, the evidence that I have available to me should turn against Christianity. I don't think that that controverts the witness of the Holy Spirit. In issuing these commands, did God wrong somebody in a way that would be inconsistent with his justice or with his love? I couldn't think of anybody that he had wronged in that way, except perhaps for the soldiers who had the grim duty to carry out these awful commands. And even in their case, I think there can be moral justification. Absolutely. If a soldier commanded by God kicked in my door and stabbed my baby to death with a bayonet, gosh, I would just feel so bad for that poor soldier, because he might end up with post-traumatic stress disorder.
I just don't think God was commanding her to. But the question I want to ask is, given everything you've just said, how can we know this?
Notice what you're raising here now is an epistemological question, not a meta-ethical question. I'm not interested in defending that epistemic question. How we can possibly know that it's really God who commands us to kill children is really such a useless and uninteresting question. But the point would be is that on a divine command theory of ethics, God is free to issue a command that goes against that, so long as it is consistent with his just and loving nature. And so the burden here would be to show that in issuing this command, God does something that contradicts his perfectly just and loving nature. And my argument is that that's very difficult to show, because he doesn't wrong anyone, I think, in this. In particular, the difficult case here is the children. And what I would say is, first, that God has the right to take anyone's life whenever he wants to. Unfortunately, children die all the time in infancy. And so if God wants to end the life of these Canaanite children early, prematurely, that's his prerogative. Gosh, it really is such a high burden of proof to show that it is not just and loving to bludgeon a child to death. It was actually a tremendous blessing to these children for them to be killed and go to heaven and be with God.
You must understand how that sounds, saying it was a blessing for these children to be killed.
God, we got a problem. Don't you want to know what it is?
You think that I, the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, omnibenevolent, spaceless, timeless, causeless, everything, breaker of chains, mother of dragons, and hater of foreskins, doesn't already know what the me-damn problem is? Of course I do. The only reason you're asking is so that you can repeat my reaction and post your stupid
I have to survive this.
Just go ahead and get it over with.
Okay. Look, William Lane Craig. Sorry, geez. What is he a doctor of?
Well, he did his doctoral thesis on the Kalam cosmological argument.
Why did I have to be in the dumbest possible timeline?
Jeffrey, just spit it out already.
Look, William Lane, Dr. Craig, is telling people that it's acceptable and moral to kill children as long as God commands it.
Didn't we already go over this again? The one with King David?
Yeah, but that was thousands of years ago. Now, a popular Christian apologist is publicly defending the mass slaughter of children in the year of you 2024.
Yeah, so?
Well, first of all, why would you ever even
Think about it. What would you say if those children grew up to be incredibly evil? You'd say, God, why are you not doing anything about all these evil people?
Spill some
And
blood.
are there any evil adults?
Well, yeah.
Why didn't you kill them? They were children.
Well,
Like, why didn't you kill baby Hitler?
well,
I mean, you supposedly commanded entire societies to be wiped out. Men, women, children, babies, elderly, animals, and all.
Blood comes easy these
They
days.
were all evil, or
Breathe
would
deep
all
and
be
move.
evil. Doesn't seem realistic. Seems much more like some really transparent propaganda another tribe would say and use to kill everyone and take their land. You know, something like, there are no civilians. But really, when has that ever been true?
okay, well, what would you have me do, Jeffrey? It's all just standard theology from the people who have a monopoly on morality. You know, the same people, atheists, all their
Atheists also believe they should kill children if they hear a voice from the invisible man telling them to kill children?
Exactly.
Look, a lot of people listen.
I speak
Dr.
vapor.
Craig. So, wrong to kill children?
He already knows that.
Yeah, but he thinks it's moral if you command it, because somehow it can be objectively moral to override objective morality. So I think he needs to hear it right from the horse's mouth that you will not command such a thing.
He knows I won't command it.
You already have. Even though you could just do it yourself, for some reason you need other people to do it for you.
Okay, fine. I'll talk to him.
It is possible that God could command something so intuitively immoral as what he did shooting up or something. It's possible that he commands such a thing.
Well,
There would be consistent with nature, in other words.
Yeah, is it possible? That one seems to be plausibly contrary to his moral nature. But it is possible for God to issue commands that would override what our moral duties are. So yeah, I would say that it is possible. We're all going to die. Someday many children do die, and God's taking the life of these children prematurely doesn't commit a wrong against them. It's actually, they're good. Now, don't let anybody say, oh, well, then we ought to go kill children. No, that would transgress a divine command against homicide, and therefore, in the absence of a divine command, that would be morally wrong. It is only given this divine command from the paradigm of goodness itself that one would be morally obligated to carry out such a horrific action. Oh, wow. I'm actually witnessing the Holy Spirit.
Listen, Dr. Craig, do not
hang on a sec.
Kill children.
What? Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure.
Excuse me, God, but exactly which children are you referring to?
All of them.
Okay, well, if you say so, then I can't really argue, can I?
That's right. No.
What was that?
Codes. Right?
Right.
What the hell are all these kids doing here? What are you doing here?
Well, I was killing a bunch of children, exactly as you commanded, Lord, until I was shot 37 times by various law enforcement officers.
That took the edge
You
off.
probably should have told them that I was just following your command.
Direct me.
What? God, can I just say that I feel like I was personally very wronged for having to kill these children, even though they received the ultimate reward of eternal paradise. In addition, I would also like to say that I am very intelligent and highly moral because my beliefs are grounded in the objective morality rooted in your existence. Now, would you like me to kill any more children?
No! And why did you kill these children?
Because you told me.
No time to die.
No, I said do not kill children.
How do you know God told you to kill us?
Well, that's that's more of an
Shouldn't have wished to live in
epistemological
more
question.
interesting
What's
times.
epistemology?
It's pronounced epistemology. It's the philosophical study of how we can justifiably know things.
Oh.
For instance, if I really want something to be true, but there's evidence against it, then I'm just going to assume the evidence is wrong and accept my beliefs as true anyway.
That doesn't sound right to me.
Looks like a certain little motherfucker wants to get killed again.
No, I said.
If in some historically contingent circumstances, the evidence that I have available to me should turn
Zip the
against
things,
Christianity,
and if it's your skull,
I don't
get
think
rid
that
of them.
controverts the witness of the Holy Spirit. In issuing these commands, did God wrong somebody in a way that would be inconsistent with his
What is
justice?
encouraged?
He's right. Let's go. We need to...
Enough gawking. Get me down. Never.
Commands, and even in their case, I think there can be moral justification. Absolutely. If a soldier
observe and listen. You'll hear goblins before you see them.
As you say.
I feel so bad for that poor soldier because he might end up with post-traumatic stress disorder.
I just don't think God was commanding her to. But the question I want to ask is, given everything you just said, how can we know?
Notice what you're raising here now is an epistemological question, not a meta-ethical question. I'm not interested in defending that epistemic question. How we can possibly know that it's really God who commands us to kill children is really such a useless and uninteresting question. But what would be is that on a divine command theory of ethics, God is free to issue a command.
The tadpole, but the longer my people. Careful.
And so the
She obviously sees your kind.
You have made...
I'll trust your...
You are sharp.
Come, a crash must...
that contradicts his perfectly just and loving nature. And my argument is that that's very difficult to show because he doesn't wrong anyone, I think, in this. In particular, the difficult case here is the children. And what I would say is, first, that God has tried to take anyone's life whenever he wants to. Unfortunately, children die all the time in infancy. And so if God wants to end the life of these Canaanite children early, prematurely, that's his prerogative. Gosh, it really is such a high burden of proof to show that it is not just and loving to bludgeon a child to death. It was actually a tremendous blessing to these children for them to be and go to heaven with God.
Just understand how that sounds, saying it was a blessing for these children to be killed.
Don't you want to know what it is?
You think that I, the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, omnibenevolent, spaceless, timeless, causeless, inventor of morality, creator of everything, breaker of chains, mother of dragons, and hater of foreskins, doesn't already know what the damn problem is? Of course I do. The only reason you're asking is so that you can record my reaction and post your stupid little YouTube video. So just go ahead and get it over with.
Okay. Look, William Lane Craig.
Doctor William Lane Craig.
Oh, sorry. Gee. What is he a doctor of?
Well, he did his
Is that blood?
doctoral thesis
No, never mind.
Why did I have to be in the dumbest possible timeline?
Jeffrey, just spit it out already.
Okay. God, look. William Lane...
I hear shouting to the
Doctor
head.
Craig is telling
You
people
should check it out,
that
but
it's
be
acceptable and
careful.
moral to kill children as long as God commands it.
Didn't we already go over this in your last video? The one with King David?
Yeah, but that was thousands of years ago. Now, a popular Christian apologist is publicly defending the mass slaughter of children in the year of you 2024.
Yeah? So?
Well, first of all, why would you ever even command such a thing?
Think about it. What would you say if those children grew up to be incredibly evil? You'd say, yeah.
Open the bloody... Nope. What's going on? Goblins are on a... You let... Please! Cannon! Damnable suffering.
I see. And are there any evil adults?
Get to the high ground! Raiders! Charge you bastards! For the absolute...
Kill baby Hitler. I mean, you supposedly
or you break.
wiped out men, women, children, babies, elderly, animals, and all. You're telling me that they would all be evil, or would all be evil? Doesn't seem realistic. Seems much more like some really transparent propaganda another lie would use to kill everyone and take their land. There are no innocent civilians. When has that ever been true?
Okay, well, what would you have me do, Jeffrey? I mean, this is all just standard theology for people who have a monopoly on morality. You know, the same people atheists steal all their morals from.
Why, atheists also believe that they kill children if they hear a voice from the invisible man telling them to kill children? Look, a lot of people to William Lynn. Dr. Craig, so could you please just go down there and tell him that it's always wrong to kill children?
He already knows this.
You command it, because somehow it can be objectively moral to override objective morality. So I think he needs to hear it right from the horse's mouth that you will not command such a thing.
He knows I won't command it.
You already have. Even though you could just do it yourself, for some reason you tell people to do it.
My sickle and sword!
That God could command something so intuitively immoral as primary school and shooting up or something. It's possible that he could command such a thing that would exist within his nature, in other words.
Yeah, is it possible? That seems to me plausibly contrary to his moral nature. But it is possible for God to issue commands that would override what our moral duties are. So yeah, I would say that it is possible. We're all going to die. Someday many children do die, and God's taking the life of these children prematurely doesn't commit a wrong against them. It's actually, they're good. Now, don't let anybody say, oh, well, then we ought to go kill children. No, that would transgress a divine command against homicide, and therefore, in the end, divine command, that would be morally given. This divine command from the paradigm of goodness itself, that one would be morally obligated. Such a horrific practice. Oh, wow. I'm actually
Not
hang on a sec.
kill children.
What? Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure.
Excuse me, but exactly which children are you referring to?
All of them.
Okay, well, if you say so, then I can't really argue, can I?
That's right. No thinking aloud. What I say goes.
Right. on 37 times by various law enforcement officers. You probably should have told them that I was just following your command.
Wait, what?
God, can I just say that I feel like I was personally very wronged for having to kill these children, even though they received the ultimate reward of eternal paradise. In addition, I would also like to say that I am very concerned because my beliefs are grounded in the objective morality rooted in your existence. Now, would you like me to kill any more children?
No! And why
I'll
did
strike
you
you
kill
down.
these children? No, I said do not kill children.
Well, that's more of an epistemological question.
Can't be true. This is your end.
Pronounce epistemology. It's the philosophical study of how we can justifiably know things. For instance, if I really want something to be true, but there's evidence against it, then I'm just going to assume the evidence is wrong and accept my beliefs as true anyway.
That doesn't sound right to me.
Looks like a certain little motherfucker wants to get killed again.
The more strange new worlds you explore, the more new life and new civilizations you seek out, the further you boldly go, the more it dawns on you that the real Star Trek was the friends you made along the way. Star Trek has taken many forms over the years, and its history is filled with compelling characters. If it wasn't, that history would almost certainly not be as long and as ongoing as it is. And sometimes some of those characters hit it off with each other and become buddies, chums, pals, friends, best friends. Best friends forever, or BFFs as the kids used to say, and now pretty much everyone says because the kids who started saying it grew up and passed it down to their kids like a cleft chin or an elevated risk of developing heart disease. Star Trek is positively bursting with BFFs, so many that it seems only natural to ask, who are actually Star Trek's greatest BFFs? It's a tough question to answer definitively, both because the Star Trek franchise includes so many memorable friendships between characters, and because it's a matter of opinion, and therefore you have no disadvantage. But that's no reason not to be systematic about this. Let us begin where Star Trek began, with Star Trek. And, I'm sorry, but before I get into this too far, I just want to remind everyone that the purpose of this video is to talk about Star Trek and have fun and give me the opportunity to tell lots of hilarious jokes and maybe also make one or two good points the first time. The purpose is not to list every single example of best friend you've ever seen across almost 60 years of Star Trek. I'm going to try to get to the important ones, the ones I'm interested in, the ones I think most
You led them straight to us, and you let them take the druid too? He's right. Right. What's it gonna take to shut you up, Horns?
are like, I don't know, that little girl in
Should have done. No one leaves my people out cold. He was right, though. I'd rather.
From that one episode of
Worse. Nursing his head for it.
For once.
If I don't cover them, which I definitely
Don't mind if I do.
Okay?
Interesting selection.
Members of the online fan community of a popular sci-fi fantasy franchise, a little bit of that. Reasonable and understanding, and not weird or obsessive.
A cheap shot. I should have expected that.
Oh yes, Star Trek. The original Star Trek is less of an ensemble piece than any of the spin-offs that followed it. It had a very strong cast of characters, played by distinctive, memorable, and more than capable actors, but the action was almost always focused around one of three characters.
True to form. Whatever your. This attack will only strengthen them. They've stopped. We can't stay, but we'll be slow. Thank you, if you'll excuse.
Central trio of classic Trek, but they aren't just united by the show's dramatic structure. Their characters are depicted as
You have my attention.
They have a bit of a three-way thing going, but they can also be various combinations.
Looking ahead.
Has its own collective personality. Kirk and McCoy give the impression of old friends, guys who have known each other for years,
share a bond of mutual trust and protection. McCoy also functions as Kirk's conscience, reminding him of his responsibilities to others and to himself. Spock and McCoy are classic frenemies. Are sharp, sarcastic, they usually find themselves on opposite sides of the Spock proceeds in strict accordance with the tenets of logic, or so he says, but beneath the bickering, which occasionally
Time to push my luck again.
outright hostility,
Another step forward.
the man also clearly harbors Kirk and McCoy are great. Spock and McCoy are a guarantee of time well spent in front of the TV, but the subject at hand is best friends in Star Trek. The only pairing from classic Trek we absolutely need to talk about is Kirk and Spock.
I'm ready.
Whether they're the greatest is a matter of opinion, but they are without a doubt the original, and in many ways, the definitive BFFs of Star Trek. There's an implied closeness between the two almost from the beginning, a product of how frequently they, as the first and second leads, are placed side by side in episodes, but the depth of their friendship becomes clearer the longer the series goes on. Fourth episode ever broadcast, Spock, under the intoxicating influence of polywater molecules, there's a prepositional phrase that makes sense in exactly one context, confesses to Kirk his feelings of friendship and also of the shame that goes along with this. Spock, raised according to the customs of the Vulcan side of his
But you're not.
family,
Let me guess. Your devil mistress sent you to get her soul coin back. Too bad. I earned that. Here.
their way out somehow. There are numerous examples of this
No time
throughout
to
the
rest.
series, but the most overt is in the second premiere, A Mock Time. There's a great ending where Spock returns to the Enterprise, believing he's just killed Captain Kirk in ritual combat down on Vulcan. Reports to sickbay to inform Dr. McCoy that he intends to relinquish command of the Enterprise to Scotty and turn himself over to the authorities. Then Kirk, who isn't really dead, but
Can't afford to stay idle.
drugged by McCoy, casually walks in from the other room. Spock is so overjoyed to see him that he grabs Kirk by the shoulders, spins him
All's well
around,
that ends.
exclaims with the
Well,
biggest
not as bad as it could have.
Nimoy horse grin you ever saw. Captain Jim! He pulls himself together immediately and tries to play it off as his logical reaction to Kirk's survival, but McCoy knows. And so, in the movie Star Trek II, Spock gives his life to save the rest of the crew and has a heartbreaking death scene with Kirk where he declares his everlasting friendship. Then, in Star Trek III, Kirk risks everything for Spock, ultimately leading to Spock's resurrection, and an ending that sees Spock, still a bit foggy from the whole being dead thing, recognize his old friend.
Well met. Is there anything you need? Act fast if you do. The ritual will be complete before
That's
too
followed
long.
by Star Trek IV, where the two of them are practically inseparable, and Star Trek V, where Spock rescues Kirk from the vengeance of an angry god. Kirk is so overcome with emotion that he goes in for a hug, only for Spock to beg off with the timeless line, "Captain, not in front of the Klingons." I mean, I don't want to declare Kirk and Spock Star Trek's greatest BFFs, because that would make the rest of this video pretty anticlimactic. If the very first set of BFFs I talk about walk away with the title, in my judgment anyway, why BFF, MFB? But those two are going to be tough to beat. There's best friends, and then there's they got their own Hallmark ornament best friends. If there's any other set of BFFs that can beat those BFFs in a BFF off, it's these two. It's time to move on from the original series to Next Generation. And when the subject is best friends aboard the Enterprise D, there's no place to start other than with Data and Jordan. Which is not to say there are no other candidates on TNG. Dr. Crusher and Counselor Troy seem to be close. They're workout buddies, at least. Commander Riker and Lieutenant Worf were presented as being good friends, at least up to a point. After Season 2, the writers mostly forgot about that, though they did get back to it briefly in Season 5, when Worf was injured by a falling plastic barrel and yearned for death. There's also Captain Picard and Dr. Crusher. True, whenever we got a Picard and Crusher episode, it leaned into their romantic feelings for each other, but their relationship remained platonic through the course of the series.
Louder.
They
That's
went
fine
to each
too.
other for advice. They had breakfast together on the regular,
make
and
no
Crusher
such
was
oath,
one
and-
of Picard's
Just-
most
Sir.
trusted
Thank you, Roland.
confidants. You could throw Riker and Troy in there too if you wanted, since they were shown to be longtime and intimate friends as well. And I do
Breathe quiet.
because because they were obviously hooking up like the entire time. Which, hey, I'm not saying BFFs can't hook up. I'm just saying BFFs who regularly hook up are in more of a best friend benefits arrangement. And this video is about BFFs, not BFWs. Let's maintain focus. Is it possible Data and Geordi were also secretly hooking up?
Good
Sure,
work, kids.
I guess, but the show
You're all
itself never
heroes.
leads us in that direction. Unless you consider role-playing in Sherlock Holmes
Out of sight,
Watson to be a
out
form
of
of mind. Actually, maybe I do. Never mind. Practically speaking, the pairing makes sense. Geordi is shown to be technically and mechanically skilled, and Data is a robot man, so Geordi can help Data out with upgrades and routine maintenance. Given that, it only makes sense that they would form a close bond. They must be spending a lot of time together. You know how long an oil change takes. And they have a lot in common. They're both giant nerds. With rare exceptions, neither one of them is getting laid. And beginning in season 2, their uniforms are even the same color. They're practically twinsies. The writers of TNG established and re-established Data and Geordi's friendship by testing, by threatening to split them up so that we would all feel sad about it. I could call this kind of writing ham-fisted and manipulative, but hey, it worked. In the measure of a man, when it looks like Data is either going to leave Starfleet or be forcibly transferred from the Enterprise to become a science experiment under the authority of Commander Bruce Maddox, the crew throws Data a going-away party in 10 Forward. Geordi is so bummed about the prospect of Data leaving that he can't even participate. He just sits moping by himself in a corner.
You touched it!
Of course there is, Geordi says. We're going away.
If everyone else minds their business, I'll be
Just
fine.
in here, in the air.
I just want to live.
So much dust. Their friendship was tested again in season 3 in the episode The Most Toys. This time, Geordi wasn't sad that Data was going to leave the Enterprise. He was sad that Data was dead, or it seemed. Unscrupulous trader and collector of rare items Kika Spajo stages a shuttle explosion to deceive the Enterprise crew into believing Data has been killed so he can add Data to his collection. For a short while, it seems like Spajo might get away with it. If we ignore the conventions of episodic action adventure television, I mean. But Spajo doesn't count on the power of Geordi's friendship, and more specifically, the power of Geordi's obsessively comprehensive knowledge of Data's professional habits. When Geordi realizes that Data's final communication from the shuttle before it exploded did not follow protocol to the letter, it leads to the unraveling of Fajo's entire plot and the eventual rescue of Data. The roles are reversed in season 5 when Geordi appears to die along with
waiting's
Rowe
getting to me.
in the transporter accident.
If we left,
Geordi
we
and
could at
Rowe
least
are
make a
still
run
alive,
for it.
but in a phased state that renders them invisible to everyone other than themselves and a Romulan guy who is also phased. Data, along with everyone else on the Enterprise, spends most of the episode believing that Geordi is dead, and Geordi's best friend takes responsibility for organizing a memorial service. When speaking to Worf about what that service should be like, Data puts his relationship with Geordi into words. I never knew what a friend was until I met Geordi, Data says. He spoke to me as though I were human. He treated me no differently from anyone else.
Take your time.
He accepted me for what I am. And that, I've learned, is friendship. But I do not know how to say goodbye.
Just.
And Geordi and Rowe were there too. And they were invisible, and Geordi could hear what Data said about him. But Data didn't know. Why is it so dusty in here? Fans are so attached to Geordi and Data's friendship, some of them I can't personally relate, that many were pissed about the first season of Star Trek Picard because Geordi wasn't in it. And look, there were plenty of things not to like about Picard Season 1 and the Picard series overall, but it's truly a testament to how beloved Geordi and Data are as a pair that when the creators of that series decided to make Picard's grief over the death of Data
I shall be here in my camp,
more than
for whenever amending should thou or any of thy compatriots pay.
By indignantly insisting
Not
that should
this
be
one,
Geordi.
writing
Though
the
Picard had somehow stolen
for a
Geordi's
mere
show,
pittance
only
of
Geordi
coin.
made more Data. How
Most
dare you, sir?
willingly,
Those fans got what they wanted eventually, though.
Fate,
Worked
dost
over
thou
professional
require
wish
a
fulfillment
new
fan
ally?
fiction.
Very
In
well.
Season 3, we get this scene where Data's personality has been transplanted into a new body, only to be suppressed by that allure, and Geordi tries to reach Data by tearfully confessing to his friend how devastated he was by his death, how much he misses him. That's good.
Everything is clear.
Nice little piece of business.
Quiet.
Well acted. Continuing our chronological survey of BFFs throughout the Star Trek franchise, let's leave TNG behind and move on to the series that follows it. Star Trek Voyager. Yes, Star Trek Voyager. The series that came right after TNG. That's what I said. That's what I meant to say. I'm definitely not forgetting anything. Voyager presents us with a few possibilities for best BFFs, or BFFs, if you will. Captain Janeway is close with both First Officer Chakotay and Security Chief Tuvok. Tuvok and Neelix have an antagonistic rapport, but there are indications that a friendlier connection lies beneath. And hey, one episode is practically inseparable. Most of one episode, but when we're talking Voyager and BFFs, we're really talking about these guys, Tom Paris and Harry Kim. They meet in the series pilot, they hit it off right away, and oh, the adventures they have together, my goodness. All those memorable Tom and Harry episodes that have etched themselves forever on the walls of our hearts. Episodes like The Shoot! Who could forget that? Unadulterated classic. Not me. That's the episode I was going to say all along. This phone doesn't even work, see? It's just a prop. I was acting. Originally early in season 3 of Voyager, The Shoot sees Tom and Harry wrongfully convicted of an act of terrorism by the Acriterians and sent to a maximum security prison at the bottom of, get this, a chute. There are no other ways in or out of the prison besides the chute, through which new prisoners are deposited and food is delivered. Climbing up through the chute to the surface is the only possible route of escape, but the chute is protected by a force field. And there's another complication. Prisoners here are implanted with devices called clamps that affect their personalities, making them short-tempered and prone to violence. Tom and Harry try to devise a way to deactivate the force field while struggling to concentrate through the effects of the clamps and dealing with threats from their fellow prisoners. And through all of this, they have to lean on each other. Tom is seriously injured in a fight, and Harry becomes his protector, flipping their typical big brother, little brother dynamic. This man is my friend, Harry declares to the others. Nobody touches him. Harry successfully turns off the force field at one point and climbs all the way up to the top of the chute, only to discover that the prison, which they thought was located underground, is actually a spaceship. The only thing at the top of the chute is a hatch where ships can dock to deliver food and new prisoners. This discovery represents something of a setback to their escape plans due to the fact that, in the words of Tom Servo, you can't tunnel through space.
If we left, we could
You know
at
what I
least make
mean?
a run for it.
Eventually, the stress of the situation, amplified by the clamps in their heads, gets to Tom and Harry, and they turn on each other. Harry discovers that Tom, delirious from blood loss, has disassembled the gadget they invented to deactivate the force field and furiously attacks him. Harry nearly kills Tom, but stops himself. And not long after that, Voyager arrives, and Janeway and Tuvok slide down the chute to the rescue. Back on the ship, Harry apologizes to Tom for their fight, but Tom tells him no.